All right, welcome back to Pole BMX Podcast. We got a fun one for you today. We are talking to Jeremy Smith and Will Grant about their Aker Farm, Aker Games that just went down over the holiday season, obviously on New Year's Eve and into New Year's Day. Man, these guys have been putting in the work. Their Aker Farm has become a hotbed for training down in Florida. Florida has been growing, like we've talked about before on the podcast, but to have a homegrown backyard setup, anytime they want it, or anyone traveling in can stop by, rent out a room, and get the stay. So it's fun to see racers and people that have grown up in the sport giving back to the sport and growing their own thing and doing their own brand. Always fun to cover them and shoot them on track, but then also to see what they got going on in their own social and media side of their brand. So hope you enjoy it. It's going to be a fun one. And as we have a little bit of time before that pro race, I'm sure we'll see plenty from Aker Farms and the two, Jeremy Smith and Will Grant, headed into that pro opener. So enjoy it. Talk to you soon.
Here we go, answer whole shot.
Boys, how we doing?
What's up, dude? What's up, Justin?
Yeah, you guys been all right?
Yes, sir. Happy to see you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining, guys. You guys have had a busy holiday season, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's been a busy few months, really, ever since after Louisville.
Yeah, it's been go, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's when we started doing the new track build and new track expansion. I think it was like September 17th or so.
Yeah, right after Tulsa.
Yeah, is when we got all the equipment rented and we just started digging and building.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, we can just jump right into it. When did kind of the idea for Aker and especially the farm start, and when did you guys get that idea?
Probably around, I think, 2017, I would say. And I moved in with Will. We lived up in kind of like St. Pete, Clearwater area. And he already had some friends that would come down during the wintertime and stay with us. And then when I moved there, I had friends, asking to come stay during the winter. And then after probably a year of that, if that, we were like, we should make a compound and like really have a place to train and just do it all. So, I mean, that's what I remember, at least. He probably has a little different story.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty similar. I think it's like every little BMX kid's dream to build like a BMX track and a compound. And we just organically started having all of these guests from our friends from all over the world, from Japan, from Italy. And, we just had this idea of like, how sick would it be to get a bunch of build our own track and start housing these people and, just build something sick for the community and us.
Yeah, definitely. The like you said, that's a BMXer's dream to have a track in the backyard. All the boys can come over and train and hang out in between races. So obviously you two are longtime BMXers, going from racer to essentially brand owner with Aker and the products you guys are creating, and then the community that you guys are creating at your compound. How do you kind of manage that two sides of your life now of like pro athlete and brand manager, general manager essentially of a compound?
Still figuring it out every day. I think it's all new for me and Jeremy. So it's like, we're not afraid to fail and we're not afraid to try something new. And I think we have very clear, goals and visions on what we want to create and how we can contribute. And and definitely don't know what we're doing, but we're figuring it out as we're going. It's probably about the same for you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for me, especially racing elite, it's tough. And I feel like I've kind of been, there's times where I've been able to put more of like the building stuff here aside, especially this past year, trying to make the Olympic team. Like I was pretty locked in, but even like 2022, feel like when we were really building this place, I kind of went down, and 2023 was kind of here, and then 2024, I feel like I stepped it up. But I'm still, like Will said, we're still trying to figure it out. Like it's hard for me to finish training and to not go like putts around outside. And a lot of times it's like, I'm gonna do my gym, my training, my track, whatever, and then I'm not working on anything, and then I'll finish, I'll be resting, and I'm like, oh, let me just do this for like 20 minutes or this, and then 2 hours passes by and I'm like covered in sweat, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, yeah, that wasn't the plan. But yeah, still trying to figure it out. And I think it's good, even like with our merch and our race pants that we just kind of came out with this year. It's like I still have something to do when I'm done training, whether it's editing or designing something online. So that's kind of just another way I try to, just use my spare time when I'm not being an athlete and still, get some rest. So
Yeah.
we're still learning.
And I got to say, like, Jeremy's version of locked in is pretty impressive, because I remember even this year, I think you were in Australia, New Zealand, and he was back for like 10 days. And then in that 10 days, he built a road and a barn here, which is like, I mean, a ridiculous amount of hours building the barn and building the road too. And then he went, probably straight to Tulsa or
Rock Hill.
Yeah, Rock Hill or something like that. So it's like, I mean, I got to give it to Jeremy. He's an absolute machine. He's super humble, but I mean, he's always getting something done, and he's always making things better around him. And I'm grateful to be around him.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, Jeremy, it was a huge year for you. I mean, you had a killer season. Alternate for the Olympic team. Got to go to Paris, experience that that kind of journey in the BMX scene. That's the pinnacle, and it's awesome. You got to experience it. And then, like you were saying, right back to the compound to work on the track or work around the farm. I was getting worried though. I think it was the lead up to Grands. You were still just building the track or doing slurry work, and it was Monday of Grands. I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like, is he ever going to get to Tulsa? Like, it's that work ethic obviously showed in that point, but. Well, take us through the Aker Games, man. Obviously, last year was the first year. This year is the second year. Looked like it grew a lot from year one to year two. For year one, like what kind of sparked the idea to do it on New Year's and kick off the year with it?
Well, it's kind of been in the back of my mind of creating events. You mentioned the word community, and I think that's really important to us, and that's really something that we're trying to build and nourish. And there's nothing quite like an event of bringing everyone together and just giving them your absolute best. And we're constantly thinking, how can we contribute to the community at large? Like what would be beneficial for the sport of BMX racing as a whole. And New Year's Eve was kind of easy picked because it's like the one holiday other than Christmas that's not already taken, and like people have time off, and they're it's the day where they want to celebrate. And it kind of worked perfectly where it's like, how can we put all of our efforts throughout the year and bring our absolute best for one day, and then create a culture out of that, of then rewarding the absolute best riding, and try to raise as much money as possible for the pros. And we contacted like so many companies in the sport who were awesome to give like a ridiculous amount of prizes for the amateurs. So it's like, how can we just give our best and create something that would be really rad for the community to come together and all be a part of what we're building.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it obviously it went great last year. This year, I mean, it seemed like it got blown out. Like it was the videos that I was seeing. My parents, mother and father-in-law were out there with Kate's brother Trent, and they loved it. I mean, they were so stoked on it. What are you guys' highlights from this year's event? Different lines, different, what stood out in your minds as being the coolest part of it?
I think for me, I mean, the riding and racing was cool, but I just think like the overall vibe, like everyone, like I don't even know if we had that many more riders, but I feel like we definitely had more people, and it was just like no pressure. Like the kids were having fun, they were fist bumping each other before they got in the gate. Like totally different than what you would get at like a serious race, which is understandable for sure. But I just think like we keep saying community, just community. And I think that, and then also Kirk from JNR was here, and he's like, this is really intimate. And like Will mentioned that to me, and I was like, it is. And it was just like, I don't know, it was just a bunch of friends having fun. And like, yeah, that's what stood out to me, at least.
I think the part that stood out to me looking back is, and that made me super grateful, was just the whole level of stoked. Like it was so cool to be able to give pros just like a huge wad of cash, right? And like multiple pros, and just seeing like their level of gratitude and stoked. And even from the amateurs too, of like, they were huge boxes of just like awesome parts from so many rad companies, and they were stoked. And then even, the kids got their like time under the limelight, right? So there's that 13 and under class and that 14 and over class where like they felt like a pro, like they were really a part of the show. And it was just really cool to see how stoked, the riders were, and really how much fun the whole, family atmosphere brought, right? So we opened up for camping as well. So we had like overnight camping all over the farm, which is like, again, a dream come true. And it just created such a rad night for everyone, I think.
Yeah. Like now that he said that, that really did stand out to me that I didn't think of. Is just like the best line for 13 and under. Like, do you have kids that are doing their best line? They got the track to themselves. Everyone's watching, and like they're some are 6, and like they can't even jump or manual, but they're standing up on their seat, like seat surfing over the jump. And like that's pretty cool. Like they're getting creative, but you could tell like they just loved like having that single run by themselves. Like just, yeah, I think that definitely stood out to me now that he mentioned that.
Yeah, and that was really a thing that we were trying to create, is an event that is gonna push the riders to get creative, to push the riders to trying something different, and to push themselves as well, and then reward the riders greatly who are helping push the sport in a way, right? So like Marshall Warner won the 13 and under, and like he's a perfect example of a young gun that is pushing the sport, like pushing the level of all of these other kids, and to give him that moment to really showcase what he has, and then be able to reward him with a ridiculous amount of stuff. Like he won a free week of Woodward, on top of like, we had cranks and hubs and, frames and a ridiculous amount of merch and gear. It was rad.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. When I saw that Marshall won, it didn't surprise me because the kid's a ripper. Like he's so good. But earlier in 24, I wrote an article that was essentially, I just gave him a new nickname. He's Marshall the Kid, but it was Kid Smooth after Jeremy. So it was a cool, full circle moment of him being at your guys' place, winning that award, and seeing the stoke on that podium, but especially on Marshall. So, we'll talk about, you did a track rebuild. What, from the first rendition of the track to the second, what caught your eye as like, okay, we need to change these things to benefit riders coming in? But then was there anything that were like, that worked perfectly, we're not going to touch that? What kind of changed from 1 to 2?
Yeah, I think from the first one, it was just kind of trial and error, and we needed something to ride on a small budget. So like what we had was really all we could do. And then just as more people were coming, and we do Acre Sundays where local kids come out, and we do a clinic and coaching and all kinds of stuff with them, and just getting more, starting with 3 people coming out on Sunday to now after the track build, we're getting, anywhere from 10 to 20 kids. And, as that was growing, we're like, this is too small. We need to improve the flow of things. And then above all that is just have more ride time. We had the first straight, you looped back around, small second straight, and then you were done. So for us being here and riding that all the time, it's like you do 3 laps and you're like, I just want to keep going. I just want to keep going. So yeah, Will's longtime sponsor, My Radar, hopped in and, they wanted the naming rights of the track. So with the help of them, we just, expanded. And then we saw a lot of tracks in France, how they can loop back around and into each other. So, I was just thinking about that, how we can tie it all in to where you're not coming across the last straight and then you're walking through our pasture, pushing your bike through grass back up to the starting hill and stuff like that. So I think that's, really what just more ride time is kind of what inspired that.
Yeah, same. And Jeremy was really the, genius behind the track build as well, right? Like it was huge to get My Radar a part of it and, allow us to get more resources to actually do something even more rad. But again, I got to give it to Jeremy. He's so impressive with how well and efficient he can move dirt and how pretty he can make it and then make it ride really good too. And that's what I think really helped too was, leading into Grands, all of a sudden we had one of the best places to train for Grands because, it was a flat hill where you can pedal right over the first jump. And so then, we got those big name riders like Cam Larson and Isaac Kennedy and Tugas and, many more riders out here to start training for Grands. And I feel like that almost like legitified our track and what we were doing and got us a lot of media attention as well, which, was huge. And again, I got to give so much of that credit to Jeremy, is really the one that designed the track. And, I'm just paid labor, unpaid labor, I guess I should say.
Will's just tending to the chickens over in the barn.
Yeah, basically.
Well, yeah, and you said it, the media attention you guys got from obviously the big names help, but it seemed like before Grands that was the spot to be for if you were training to be in that premier class. And you guys had some big names in terms of riders, but then also on the media side too, with Josh being out there, Elliot being out there. You guys,
Evan Esposito too.
Yeah, Evan, yeah. The content coming out was just uncanny. Like it was gnarly how much was coming out. You guys are pretty big proponents of the media side of the sport. When did you guys start really jumping into that? Early days. When did you kind of grab onto that media side?
I feel like I remember the exact day. Like
I do remember the day we bought like the GoPro.
Yeah, going to High Springs, and then the gate flip happened. Like,
that was day one.
We were actually trying to think of like other ways that we could contribute to the sport of BMX racing. And at that time, that was maybe when you were first starting too, or maybe even before you got with the USA BMX, and there really wasn't a lot of media out there. And like we talked about, and we believe that, hey, the more content that we put out for BMX racing, then all of a sudden, like these kids they're on their phones anyways, right? So then if they're coming across this BMX content, hopefully it'll motivate them to go to the track and ride and train and stuff like that. So it's like,
or even make content themselves.
Yeah. Or to create content themselves. And so I think it was like, we just seen a place where we felt like we could contribute and help the sport, and then also get our name out there as well. And then we were just like, dude, let's go just do it. So we stopped at Best Buy on the way to a track,
on the way to a state race.
Yeah. On the way to a state race, and bought a GoPro and a gimbal. And I didn't make the main, Jeremy did. And I'm standing right behind with the GoPro, and then the gate malfunctions. Everyone flips the gate, and it's like the most viral video that we, I think it was on Ridiculousness and like all these crazy outlets. It was insane. And, I think that just gave us that, it doesn't always happen so quick like that, but we were just motivated, like, dude, let's just try to make as much content as possible. And I think with like Jeremy taking that Olympic, us just being so consumed with actually building this place and making the house livable. We kind of fell off a little bit of the bandwagon with the amount of content that we were putting out. And that's when we just started reaching out to riders that enjoy making videos and are good at making videos. So like, Evan Esposito, being a Florida rider and also rad on a bike, a motivated athlete, like he was a perfect fit too. And then Jolly, when he got here, we didn't know that he filmed. Like we didn't know that he makes videos. He actually won a free week stay at a USA BMX race. So he won junior men at a USA BMX National where Eric was announcing a free week stay. And then he stayed for free. And then all of a sudden he had a camera and he started messing with us. I was like, oh, I didn't know you filmed. And his videos were just so sick. And he was just like giving us like a ridiculous amount of videos every day. And we're like, dude, let's keep this going. Like this is helping us all, And we formed a great relationship with Jolly, and we're looking forward to having him back as much as possible. Because right when he used his free weeks, I think he had 2 free weeks. When he stayed for 2 weeks, it was from Tulsa to Worlds, and then he went to Worlds and won the world championships. And we're just like, holy cow. And I knew he was going to win a week before, like because for some reason I thought he was U23, and then he told me he was racing junior, and I was like, oh well, you're going to win. Yeah, and he I think smoked everybody every lap of the whole weekend that weekend. So yeah, stoked to have just awesome people like Evan Esposito and Jolly, and now Elliot. Like he's just another person. I kept seeing cool content coming out of Grants, yeah. Right? Like just at Grants. And then I just shot him a message saying, hey, you want to come and, enjoy Aker Games and let's make some content.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. And we're seeing that, that growth of riders filming their buddies, filming themselves, like that new generation of content creators is coming from that, 15 to 22-year-old range. Mainly, and I in part put this because they were the 10, 12-year-olds that were seeing you guys start it, and seeing Connor or whoever else in, the quote unquote early days, just before 2019, really, do that content. And they kind of grew up with it, and now they're doing it themselves, and they're making a name for themselves. It's cool to see, and it's especially in a place like Florida. It's like, hey, you want to come to Florida? Yeah, I'm going to come to Florida and ride my bike, man. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and we love it, right? And that was, like I said, part of our intention is like, how can we inspire people to go out and ride and create, right? So we had this saying back in the day at the old house, hey, you're either consuming or producing, right? Like you're either like costing or you're creating, right? So like instead of just sitting around the house all day in between training sessions and just consuming everyone else's content, hey, why not be a creator? And this could help build your own brand, help the sport, and help everything. And it's just so rad to see all these kids picking up cameras and like all the motivation for these kids to start creating. And we want to be a part of it, and we want to help nourish that or help that flourish in any way that we can.
For a lot of them, I think it's easy to, like the young kids, technology, like they can do that so much more easier than what I'm able to find myself to do now, Yeah, so it's cool.
Yeah, I sat next to Drew as he was making an edit, and Sean Day's another great example. He's fast as hell, but then he can edit too. And I was sitting next to them trying to edit my own video. I'm like, God damn it, guys! Like, come on! They're already done with 3. I'm still putzing with 1. Like this hard.
Drew's another one that we got to get out here.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, what's next for you guys? Obviously, you guys had a busy couple months, but anything in the works or anything planned until that pro opener?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think, or for both of us, we probably still need another week or so to just kind of decompress and rest and rejuvenate. But
we're already thinking about new projects.
Yeah, we want to definitely, because when we did this track rebuild, my dad came down. He's super good at running heavy equipment, and we dug a pretty big pond and got all this dirt that we thought was like so much dirt. And then we do the track rebuild, add some more trail jumps, and it's like all gone. And we're like, dang. So like, we're definitely trying to plan to dig again, and then just keep upgrading some stuff around the farm. We just got a watt bike, so That's a new cool tool, and we did a 10-hour job with Will and Levin, who's staying here from Switzerland. He's a carpenter and super handy. Also a really good rider. He won best line, right?
Yeah.
So we drove and found this old barn on Marketplace, and we're going to build that in the backyard and put the gym out there and just fancy it up a little bit, make it better for all of us to train at. So that's another project we got in mind. And yeah, I mean, there's always something to clean up or fix up around here. So
Yeah, like I'm definitely looking forward to, redigging that pond, right? Because like the pond is pretty good size already, but I'm looking forward to stocking it with fish and like, all sorts of natives and plants too, to add like a whole nother thing to do here, right? How cool would it be if the kids can come here and catch some really big, nice bass and stuff like that? And then at the same time, we get to harvest as much dirt as possible. So, the bigger the pond, the more dirt that we have, the more BMX that we could build, and the bigger fish that we can get too. So I'm really looking forward to digging that pond again, deeper and bigger. So then we get to add more jumps and add more things to ride, increasing that ride time again, and then stocking that with some nice bass and some nice fun fish to catch too. And I'm sure the gator will end up in there eventually. That'll be fun.
It's a body of water in Florida. Gator will find its way, man.
For sure.
Well, that's sweet. Guys, I mean, I'm stoked for you guys. Super proud of what you guys are doing. And I'm making it next year. I don't care what anyone says. And
You have to.
your games. So, man, I'm stoked for you guys. And honestly, just congratulations. Like that was an awesome event to watch from far away and see what everyone was putting out. But you guys well deserved.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate it, dude. And dude, the third annual Acre Games is, of course, the next, big thing that we're looking forward to as well. And dude, you definitely got to make it. And there's still so many things that we want to improve from this year's event to next year's event too, right? Like, improving the food, even wanting to improve the media and just making it more fun, more rad, and better prizes. And, how can we create the sickest, most fun event of the year?
Definitely. Well, I'm looking forward to it, guys. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you guys. I'm sure we'll talk soon, but I'll see you guys in Carolina for the pro debut. Or Florida is the second race of the weekend or race of the season. Are you guys going to be out in Okehele?
Oh yeah, or I'll be there for
Yeah,
sure.
Acre Brand will be there. I don't know if I'm going to be there. I'm actually going to be doing some more track building at a local track near here. So I'll be in that project, and we'll see. I might make it out for one day or one of the 2 days.
Awesome. Well, can't wait to see you guys.
Yep.
Later.
See you, Justin. Thank you.
Appreciate it.